So Ford has patented a system where the car can communicate wirelessly with like Ford's central computer, I guess. And if you don't pay your car loan or your lease, okay, because it communicates with your bank. So if you don't pay your car loan or your lease, Ford can start shutting down aspects of your car. They may just shut down some of the features first of all, but then if you still don't pay after several months, potentially the car can lock you out and it can even drive back to the dealer you bought it from.
That's crazy. I mean,
Crazy, right?
How does that even work? I mean, I've heard of kill switches with like B-rate car dealers that are, buy here, pay here. They'll put a kill switch in the car, and then, I feel like people come in and they're like, how do I find the kill switch? And then I don't have to deal with it anymore. But on the other hand, it's like, do they know the people are driving their car? Where does that freedom, where does like the integrity of your personal information stop and start with this kill switch? So you're like, hey, I'm driving down the road, cut me off. Whoop.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
whoa.
This is interesting because it turns out that this kill switch thing. So we'll talk a little bit about Ford's patent in just a moment, but it turns out that the kill switch stuff is actually surprisingly common, way more common than I thought. And some states have banned it, but there were some examples in this Pew article. There was an example of a lady who was driving down an interstate near Las Vegas, and her kill switch kicked in and her car just lost power on the interstate. The power steering went off and she had to steer it to the hard shoulder with the non-power steering. And she almost crashed, right? So ideally, if a kill switch exists, it would kick in when the car's already turned off, and then just the next time you try to start the engine, it doesn't turn on, right? I think that's how most of them work, but this one, for some reason, shut her car down on the interstate.
I feel like there's injury lawyers with dollar signs in their eyes every time they read these articles going, who's next? Who's next?
I think she was awarded, I think she was awarded compensation for that particular
I would hope so. You're driving down the road, your car gets cut off while you're that doesn't even.
And there was the incident in Detroit as well. Right. I think you posted an article about.
Where does the policy?
Yeah,
Mel Farr.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, he was one of the first guys that went into detail about, this guy's a professional football player years and years ago. He became like a B-rate car dealer. And the big thing was that he put kill switches, but he didn't tell anybody, right? Here's your car. I hope you do well, but nope, we're not going to tell you on the kill switch. They wake up the next morning to go to work, haven't made their payments, whatever, they're struggling. And this guy's like, oh, can't get in my car. It won't start. What's wrong with it? Let me call this guy and get it towed over to the mechanic. Get it to the mechanic. Mechanic's like, your car is fine. There's a kill switch on it. I can't turn it on.
Yeah.
He ended up getting sued.
Yeah, he did. And I think the person was awarded $25,000 compensation. I think it says at the bottom of the article for that particular one. So, yeah, $25,000 in compensation. So what Ford is proposing to do, though, so it's a little bit, I guess it's sort of a variation on this idea for self-driving cars. So what would happen first, and this is actually detailed in the patent, that if you don't pay your bill, they can start by shutting down certain functionality of your car. So they could, for example, shut down your air conditioning, which, could be pretty dangerous if the person lives in Nevada or somewhere, right? Or Arizona, you've like 100 degrees inside your car because you haven't paid your bill.
Can you make a partial payment to turn your air back on?
Yeah. The more money you pay, the lower the degrees goes, right? You pay half, it goes to 73. You pay more, it goes down to 69.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they could also turn off your radio. That's another one that was mentioned in the patent. So you could switch off. So basically your car is just having features switched off. And then eventually you could get locked out of your car. That's if you miss, I don't know, several months of payments. And then if the car has full self-driving, it has the option that it could actually just drive itself back to the dealer if you haven't paid after several months and they need to repossess it. It can just repossess itself.
It's way better than repoing cars. I did that once in Detroit. It was a rather interesting experience. So I don't recommend doing it, especially in Detroit. But
well, yeah, that's the argument. So in the Pew article about this, that's the argument for this system, is that it would reduce it would reduce conflict. It would make repoing easier because you don't have to go and confront someone. It's just that, you know, someone's car in the middle of the night just leaves their parking spot and drives to the dealer. Yeah. So that's their argument for it.
I wonder how much this patent's really worth to Ford, and you know, what AI are they going to use to drive your car back? And like, you know, why doesn't Elon have it already? But he doesn't do patents, so I get it. You know,
I guess the self-driving one is going to be part of it for the future, as they bring in full self-driving. But the other aspects, like turning off the AC, the radio, and locking you out, would be ones that they could potentially do now. I mean, I guess they could lock you out and then just go and tow your car, because you wouldn't be able to go and drive your car somewhere else and hide it or whatever. But yeah, the full self-driving probably for the future.
Will it encourage people to buy cars without the features now, where they just get the most basic that they can get, where it's like, I don't need air, I don't need
That's
this.
possible. I mean, and also if this happens, there could be sort of a war between the car manufacturers anyway, where, you know, one manufacturer says, all right, we're not going to put this stuff in that people see as unfair. And then they have better sales because of it, especially on the lower end models. So that could be something that happens. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they make laws against this in the future. Just like, you know, if you're renting a house to someone and they don't pay and they squat in your house, it's actually illegal for you to switch off the electricity. You know, you can remove your furniture if it's furnished, but you can't switch off the electricity or water because that's considered like a human right or something. So it could be that if this comes out in a big way, you know, it's a new technology, the ability to do this. So it could be that you start getting.
Sounds like some more ways for government to make dirty money and turn around and be like, here you go. Here's the process for evicting people out of the car now. You know,
yeah,
it's like California, you want to kick somebody out of a house, you might as well spend the next year paying people. New York State, it's the same thing. It's like, well, now is it going to work for repoing on a car? You know, that's where the evolution of this goes once they try to implement something along this lines is, who's going to start paying more money to get the car repoed? Eventually, they're going to be like, car's worth 10 grand, just keep it.
Yeah. Yeah. And all these little repossession businesses are going to go out of business. It's going to be terrible for these mom and pop repo shops. Huh?
Yeah, no, I mean, a guy owns a truck and he repos cars. They give him $400 every time he brings a car in. I mean, when I repoed cars, I got $200. I only did it for a few days after, you know, some people pulled some guns. I was like, all right, I'm done with this. This doesn't make any sense at all, you know. But it was pretty adrenaline driven for sure. But you know, that's a dirty business all in and of itself. So I can get why they want to do it, but I mean, I guess you're dealing with an unscrupulous person to begin with if they're not communicating with you about paying their bills that they agreed to, right? So.
Yeah, so maybe it is justified. I think we've kind of talked ourselves around into actually thinking this one's not too bad.
Well, I mean, I'm on both sides of the fence, to be honest. I mean, yeah. Either way, I feel like there's a lot of money to be made with this patent on the back end for the government.
Yeah.